Okay, let's talk about stabilizers for your t-shirt quilt. First of all, why? T-shirts are very, very stretchy. It's a knit material, and there's going to be two reasons really why you, I have to say, must stabilize the t-shirts before you start making your quilt. And number one is the edges roll. The minute you cut that knit, it rolls under. It's very hard to work with without stabilizing. Number two is when you go to sew it and quilt it, anything, it stretches. It will stretch all over the place. If you're trying to add borders to make your t-shirts a little bit bigger so that you end up with a bigger quilt, you're going to have a really hard time sewing the t-shirt material to a regular cotton fabric without the t-shirt stretching. It is more frustration than it's worth. So there's three basic options that I consider to be viable for stabilizing, and I want to tell you about them. There's a lot more about stabilizing in the book, but I want to run just the basics through for you so you get a general idea of what your options are, and then you can make your decision from there based on what your priorities are. So the first one is a woven stabilizer. It is going to be most cloth-like, and it's a very open weave, and it has glue. So these are iron-on stabilizers, the iron-on woven, and then there's a non-woven. So the advantages to a woven are it's going to end up being just as soft pretty much as the t-shirt once you've washed the quilt. It's basically just adding a thin layer of fabric, but you are ironing it and gluing it to the back of the t-shirt, and that's going to add just enough strength to keep it from rolling and stretching while you're working with it. It won't stretch. A woven will not stretch. Now, some of them do require pre-shrinking, so that can take a little bit longer in the time frame for building your quilt, but I think it's worth it. Really, really worth it. Especially, I used the Lazy Girl Designs woven and pre-shrunk it as the instructions said, and I loved the results. I thought they were outstanding. A woven is a little bit more expensive than a non-woven, but again, I pretty much think it's worth it. So a non-woven, it's going to be more like a felt. And so not quite as cloth-like as a woven would be. It's definitely less expensive. You don't have to do any pre-shrinking. I did tested it, and I put the results in the book. You can go with maybe giving it a pre-shrink or not. It's going to be up to you. But the instructions do not say to pre-shrink a non-woven. A non-woven is going to be a little less expensive than a woven. And the last option is liquid starch. Now, I buy it in the bucket, and I mix it up with water myself and put it in a spray bottle and use it. But on these t-shirt quilts, I tried two different things. One was just soaking them in a tub with a mix of starch and water, and the other one was and letting them hang dry. Okay, and then this is a great experiment. I put some out in the sun to dry. They dried stiff as a board, just like cardboard. It was funny. But I don't advise that. And then the next test I did, I soaked them and then I threw them in the dryer. Remember those dryer balls? Worked great. I mean, it worked great, and not but it does take some time and some planning. So inexpensive, very inexpensive. And the very best part is that when you wash the finished quilt, you have just the t-shirt. No backing behind it, no stabilizer, And I basically call it like this. If you are working with older t-shirts and this is just a fun quilt, it's just going to get thrown around for kids and puppies and whatever else, I would recommend the starch method if you feel like going through the steps that it takes to use that. If this is a quilt where these t-shirts really have a lot of meaning for you, and maybe they've been worn hard and they might need some beefing up, I really recommend the Woven and Lazy Girl brand in particular. I was very, very happy with that. So it takes figuring out what stabilizer you want to use and whether or not you're going to add fabrics like borders to your blocks before you start cutting those t-shirts. Now, again, there's a lot more about this in the book, but I want to give you an idea. Before you grab those t-shirts and just start hacking them up, I wanted you to know some of the research that I did and some of the things I learned along the way in making the t-shirt quilts that I made.